Welcome back to TechNet Radio. In today's Community Corner, John Weston welcomes Tiffany Ingargiola from the New Horizons Computer Learning Center of New Orleans and Biloxi. Tune in for this lively conversation around the importance of the IT community, how social media impacts the technology ecosystem, Windows Intune, Office 365, and whether or not certification matters in today's job market. John, the mic is yours.
Hello and welcome to TechNet Radio Community Corner. I'm John Weston with Microsoft, and today we're doing some new technology. We're using Microsoft Link 2010, and it's no longer a radio show. We now have webcams, and so our experience here, you guys see not only me, but my guest on the radio, so I guess you could call it a TV show on the internet now. Today on the Community Corner, I've got Tiffany and I'm going to attempt to pronounce her last name, from New Orleans. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me this month, John.
So tell us a little bit about your background and what do you do for a day job?
So I'll start by saying my name is Tiffany Ingargiola, which John can say on a good day. So my name is Tiffany Ingargiola. I'm with New Horizons Computer Learning Centers of New Orleans and Biloxi, and we are the largest computer training company, if you're not familiar with us, definitely in the U.S. and globally, over 300 locations. My role at New Horizons is the business development manager. So I manage our relationship with all of our partners, such as Microsoft, Cisco, VMware, all the folks that John doesn't like me talking about besides
It's okay,
Microsoft.
but they're all part of the community.
Exactly. So I manage our relationship with all of our strategic partners, our strategic alliances. I also manage our relationship with the state of Louisiana and Mississippi, so any contractual relationships we have with them to manage training or contractual obligations, I manage. And then as well, just growing our business. So where are we going? What are we doing? What training, what technology are we embarking on? What is our community talking to us about? What are our clients saying? Marketing-wise, all of those types of things fall under the Department of Business Development here in New Horizons in New Orleans.
That's great. So I know you're very active in the user group community there. I know you don't particularly run a user group, but tell us about the user group community there in New Orleans.
I don't even remember exactly at what point I got involved in the user group community here in New Orleans, and I guess it might even be about the same time that you took over the territory here, John. But we have some great leadership from Microsoft for the DPE role here, and so they came here and they were like, listen, we really need to kick this off, and we haven't had a strong presence in New Orleans, so we don't know what the next step is. And so I'm not a techie, but I can sure help where I can. And so I think the most important thing for me to do was to find the people I thought were the great leaders in our IT community. And so that's pretty much what we've done, is we've kind of assembled those people that we think are good leaders to lead the IT Pro user group, the SharePoint user group, and then now the .NET user group. And those three groups have really taken off. We also have, so we have those in New Orleans, we have Baton Rouge, and we've actually started a group on the North Shore, which obviously this show is going to run across the web, but what we've done is actually, like most chapters in most states, we've grown where capacity is. We want people to join, so we don't want to be a limitation of it's too far to drive. And obviously we're using technology, so we've actually had some where we've had the presenters actually deliver over the web, doing live meeting and so forth. So we really want to use the technology. We don't want to have there be any hindrance for attendees to not be able to get the content that they need. What I try and bring to the group is some sort of marketing arm to it, right? So these are techie guys, right? They're doing jobs. Most of them are consultants. Most of them are in the field, or they're working where they're actually, they aren't in Photoshop. They aren't, should I say those words? I'm sorry. They aren't using any kind of tools in social media or things like that. So my role is to kind of go out and say, what can I do to make sure that everybody knows your events are happening? So we try and provide a venue for them without a doubt, or make sure they have a venue. And then we make sure that they have speakers. So taking the network of social media, taking the network of the venues that New Horizons has, and making sure that we have those resources available for them throughout any of the any cities that they want to present and have chapters available in.
I think that's a natural fit for a training center. I mean, you think about what a training center is. You're teaching technology classes, and you've got classrooms that are usually during the day, right? And there's a few evening classes, but not all your classrooms are booked in the evening. And so if a user group wants to meet, you guys have rooms that may be available during the evenings. And what I like about it is somebody comes to, let's say, a user group meeting and learns about .NET. And there's a 2-hour presentation on this particular feature of .NET. They'd love to find out more. Well, guess what? They're sitting in a training center that is their business where they offer training. And so, meeting members are potential new customers for you guys. And so I think it's a great relationship to where you're not only supporting the community, but there's a potential where it could be very beneficial for your organization to sounds like to be a part of these type of community.
Well, so I've been with New Horizons for 10 years. And when I started working here, it's kind of funny, the .NET classes, we couldn't fit more people in our classes. I mean, it was amazing the amount of people, the technology and the thirst for knowledge that folks had. And that really has changed. And not to say that our classes are not incredibly popular, but the type of classes have changed, and you've seen a change in what the demand is and what resources people are going out and finding their own training on, and what content that is being delivered where somebody wants to read a book versus somebody wants to sit hand in hand with somebody else and say, how are you doing this? What obstacles have you faced, and what are the resources that you use to understand them? And so I think that is where the user groups have found so much success, is because they can actually kind of look to each other and say, these are the things that worked for me and my company. SharePoint is obviously the biggest success of all of those because it's such an evolving technology, right? I mean, it's nothing that any of us pegged, years ago to be what it is today. We knew it was going to be huge, but nowhere near did we know that our clients were going to take it and evolve it into something that is managing and controlling their businesses the way it is today. So SharePoint, we have clients that come in and into these user groups that it's their first time, and they're like, should we implement SharePoint? And we have a client that's an enterprise client sitting in the room going, wow, really? Like, okay, what are you talking about? So it's a really good mix of that. For me, as a training provider, what it does for me is really understand when I'm looking at my instructors and my trainers and deciding what is the path for them, or what are the courses that I'm going to be putting on my schedule. It helps me to decide, knowing from that conversation that's going on in these user groups, how I evolve that schedule, how I evolve their training paths to know what to provide for my customers.
That's great. So what user groups meet there at your facility?
So right now we have in the user for SharePoint and for .NET meet here, and but across the U.S., all of it's IT Pro, SharePoint, and .NET are meeting at New Horizons. So it's something that's very common in a lot of cities.
Gotcha. And I want to talk a little bit about New Orleans has a website put up for the community. I think it's NewOrleansTech.net, is it?
Yes. So we have a wonderful community here in New Orleans that is, it got to a point where there's so many things going on, right? And there's so many chamber of commerces and different organizations that you can use to find out information. But there's this brainchild, or I could say brain trust, that came up with a website called NewOrleansTech.net. And what they did was said, hey, any type of technology event, whatever it may be, let us know, and we're going to advertise it. We might do a podcast on it, but at the very least, we're going to put it on our calendar. And so we send all of our customers there. We send all of our, we put it on our monthly newsletter. Anything that you're doing that has to do with technology in our area, you want to make sure is on that schedule. And so I would tell anybody that to make sure if there's something like that in their city, to go out and find it, because it's a great resource for us here in New Orleans. And they do events locally all of the time that benefit us in so many ways to just make sure that everybody's engaged in what the pulse of technology is in our region.
That's great. That's a great website, and it definitely brings together not just the Microsoft, but all the technology communities together at one central hub, and it sounds like you guys are really supporting it.
It is. They have. I mean, we have Ruby on Rails from a .NET perspective. We had BizSpark come to New Orleans, and we had an all call to New Orleans Tech.net, and the Ruby on Rails folks came out. All these different user groups came out, but it was interesting because they came out because obviously they were interested. So how else would we have gotten their attention had we not had a resource like that to advertise on?
I know you're very connected to social media. How has that impacted the community you work with?
Um, so, I guess I consider myself an obsessive people connector, and think you tease me about this quite often. Um, I almost wonder sometimes where it benefits me because I think that when I'm meeting you and I'm speaking with you, I'm always thinking, who can I introduce you to that's going to help you get to your goals? And I think that at the end of the day, that we all have an opportunity to do things and do them the right way. And so for me, social media is that tool. It's an opportunity for you to meet people that can help you either propel yourself, your career, your personal life, whatever that means to you and why you're using it. And so from a community perspective, there is no question that there has been presenters, there has been an opportunity for our user groups to meet and engage with folks that are rock stars, or folks that have written, or best-selling authors that they would not have had an opportunity to meet with otherwise. But because we're engaged with that social media aspect, if they're passing through New Orleans, hey, let's flag them down and make sure that they know we want to hear from them. So that's kind of where I feel like the connecting the dots makes sense, because they know that we're here and that we're interested. And so I think that, and they know that you're paying attention.
Yeah, and so you're on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It's just amazing to see all the different methods that I hear you, and I always see New Orleans Tech and those others are very, very active in all those different formats and connecting the people to make sure who can help who in the right capacities.
Yes. And I think that's the same for, from a user group perspective, and especially I think more in the SharePoint world. I think that, since that world has evolved so much and the technology, there's been so many new books and so many new resources. There's so many partners, and I know that you and I discussed on many levels. I'm very engaged with the Microsoft partner world, and so that's kind of the world I lived in, and I shouldn't say I lived in, I live in. And so the community world is new to me. I wrote a blog after TechEd last year, the top 3 things I learned at TechEd this year, and it was because I always went to TechEd and worked TechEd for New Horizons, and it's a long week, and it's tiring, and it's hard, and it's because you're engaged with clients and you're talking about their solutions, and there's big decisions they come to TechEd to make, right? And this year I kind of took a day off from the booth and went to the show with some of the folks from the community I met, and I actually walked away knowing who, Mark Rasenovich is, and walked away saying, wow, like this is an amazing community that is such a different world than the partner community. And so that's kind of the work I've been doing this last year, is trying to engage the partner world with the IT community, because I think that we look at them in 2 totally different ways. The people who are rock stars in the community, most of the time a partner would not even really identify with. That's probably one of my biggest things this year I've been really strategizing and working on, is saying, hey, if you're a partner, come to one of the user group meetings, because the people who are presenting are amazing, and you may not have even known that they existed in our region.
Yep, yeah. No, there's definitely a connection that Microsoft partners should be more active in the community. I mean, I think you guys as a partner at New Horizons are very active, but I think that there's a lot of different opportunities that partners go and participate in the community. That's great. So I'm not from New Orleans. I have a lot of family in New Orleans, so I want to bring up Katrina. Gosh, it's been way more than 5 years, almost 6 years now. I mean, it'll be 6 years this summer since Katrina, and I know the city's recovered, and this may be heard all over not only the U.S. but around the world. Of people may be watching this. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about where New Orleans is going. Obviously, it's recovered. We're welcomed. It's not only a tourist destination, but there's business going on there. Where do you see the recovery the next few years out?
New Orleans is very resilient, and I'm sure that most folks know that. And thank you so much for obviously, asking that and being aware of what we all have went through. I think that if you're still here, I think that you know that this is an entrepreneurial city. I think that this city is rebounding in so many ways that it's interesting. I think the footprint is quite different than it was before, as far as where companies are setting up shop, comparable to where they were before, but growth is still here. And I only see positive things. It's quite interesting that over the last few years, when most of my counterparts across the U.S. were struggling in their markets, and they'd say, how is New Orleans? We weren't struggling yet because we were still on the rebound of rebirth. We are now starting to see some of that with unemployment and some of the struggles in construction and things that other cities were seeing. But I think that we're now on the end of that, right, because other cities are on the end of that. So and we're a different city than most other cities as far as the amount of big, conglomerate type Fortune 500 companies. We're a mom and pop type of city. We're an SMSMP city. 7 enterprise type accounts in the entire state of Louisiana, which a lot of people are like, there's no way, there's only 7 of them here.
Fortune 500, only 7 of them are entire state.
7 entire state. But we're an amazing, and so I think that the people alone are going to carry, and I think that you'll see that in the next 5 years, that you're going to get a stronger state, and I think that you'll see more and more that people are going to stop referring to it as just more New Orleans and more of a region. And so your footprint in Baton Rouge, in Lafayette, those areas are going to take more of a stronghold from a business perspective for our region versus just as New Orleans as the city where the central business area was done.
Yeah, so I think that you see a lot of people when you talk about, Baton Rouge is only 60 miles up
right.
the highway, and North Shore, when you talk about that, for those that don't know, that's on the other, what I call a suburb of New Orleans, but it happens to be across the 30-mile lake, across Lake Pontchartrain. And
the
so
pelicans fly with you.
Yeah, and so there's one little bitty bridge that you can get across that lake to get to the North Shore, but a lot of companies moved to those locations during the recovery period, and then that is kind of spurred the growth of those, what I would call New Orleans suburbs over the last few years, and so that geographically, I think the storm dispersed not only the businesses but the population, and so you've got a bigger reach now. I agree with the statement that it's more of a region now than just a city.
So John, so now I get to ask you a question.
Okay.
So, like I said, I think that for myself, when you took over this region, and when Zane, who would be your counterpart for the .NET
developer side,
took over, I can't tout enough how involved I think you guys are and how reachable you are. So, what makes your role different? What do you see for this region? What do you see for? You come here often enough. So, what do you find from your perspective we should be looking and seeing out of DPE?
Yeah, I see a lot of opportunity. And very grateful for the help that you and organizations have helped to revitalize. For example, the SharePoint group. In conjunction with the Tech Ed being there last summer, we really kind of leapfrogged that user group into being a very successful and very healthy. Obviously, Microsoft doesn't have an office in every city in the U.S., and so it's tough for us to cover regions when we don't have people that live there. And so we rely upon influencers like yourself that care passionately about Microsoft, about the ecosystem of not only our partners but also of our community around our products. People realize people make a living off of SQL Server, off of SharePoint, off of Windows Server, and they want to invest in themselves, and so community is extremely important to that environment. And so to me, I look at the southern half of Louisiana as an opportunity that we may not have a Microsoft office there for some time, but I think that shouldn't hold us back from creating an incredibly vibrant, connected, and when you talk about us, bringing up competitors, when we talk about community here at Microsoft, to me, it's not just about our products. Obviously that's where we want to focus our efforts on, but we also want to participate in the competitive space. So, the Ruby on Rails, the Linux user groups, we want to go and participate and be part of that community. And so, things like the New Orleans Tech.net, where it brings all of it together, not just the Microsoft related ones, we want to participate and support those kind of activities because that makes a better ecosystem. And that's what we really see happening in the New Orleans area, and we want to be supportive of that. So let's kind of switch roles. We've done the community section of the interview. I want to also just briefly do technical, and I know you're not a deep technician, Tiff, but what's your favorite Microsoft product, and why is it your favorite product?
Okay, so I had to think about this when you sent me this question. I would say OneNote is probably Next to Live, I'm not a Link user yet, so I would say next to Microsoft Live, I would say OneNote is probably my most popular, or my favorite.
What do you use it for? Do you take notes in
So
OneNote?
I live out of Outlook, so my entire world is an Outlook-based calendar world, and so for me to click on an appointment in Outlook and then click to OneNote, and all of the information about that appointment goes right to the notes, and then boom, I can type my notes as I'm on the call, or even just print it up, write my notes in, and then go back and put the notes in later, and then catalog it into a notebook that I can go back and save, there. For me, is very, very important. We manage SharePoint Saturday here in New Orleans, and every year it's done through a one-look notebook. I mean, it's
You live or die, your whole organization of SharePoint Saturdays all in OneNote. That's great.
Oh, it is.
That's cool. So what product of ours do you wish you knew more about?
Oh, gosh. What product do I wish I knew more about?
I mean, obviously we're using this brand new Link here, and I don't know. Have you ever used Link before?
No. Well, I mean, I obviously talk to people all the time on Link, but I have not used all of the functionality of it.
Yeah.
The new product that launched yesterday, is it Intune? What is it?
Intune, yep.
Intune. I'm just going to say, I was like, I don't want to
Yep.
say it wrong. Intune. I watched my friend Steve Hall up in D.C. yesterday. He had a video out launch yesterday on it, and that's very interesting to me. And
Yeah,
I think
it's remote PC management through the cloud, and that's a new concept to a lot of people.
I can tell you from a training partner perspective, going into WPC in July, which is the World Partner Conference, there's definitely going to be a huge emphasis on Office 365 and how it's impacting us as a learning partner, because our clients are asking us, okay, so what does this mean for me? Do I train differently on Word in the cloud than I do in Word in the office? So even though most of you think people are not still training on those things, we fill Word classes every day of the week. And so those are types of things that, for me, I wouldn't say I need to learn more about, but I need to be more educated to understand how it's impacting our clients. And so Intune, for me, is going to be an interesting product to see how our clients are going to have a better management tool.
That's good. So being a training provider, what are going to be the popular tech classes this year?
Oh, no question. SQL BI is so hot right now.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, and business intelligence is just amazing, and we saw that 5 years ago. And I don't want to reference Katrina again, but after Katrina, people had to be much smarter about their business from a project management standpoint, and so we saw there was a huge uptake in project management training here with Microsoft Project Server, and we saw that SQL started to take an uptake, and now we see that with SQL. People are switching away from all of the other proprietary software applications that were managing their business intelligence and saying, hey, we're housing all of our data on SQL. Why aren't we using the tools that are available in it to pull that data out and be smart about it? And so we're seeing lots of uptake in the business intelligence side of the applications that Microsoft offers.
That's great. I know traditionally people take an in-person class and then they may go for their certification, like the old MCSE and that kind of stuff. Do employers really still look these days for certifications? Or I guess one way of saying is, do you really need to go take that test after you've taken the training?
Oh, my gosh, yes. What are you talking about? Certification is the most important thing, without a doubt. Certification validates, and certification today is probably 100 times different than the day I started working at this company, where a test was quite different. Your virtual labs, the way you're tested and validated, really validates that someone knows what they're doing. So if you're hiring someone, if you are promoting someone, and you want to validate that they know what they're doing, you want them to get certified. And the offers that Microsoft Learning has out, which are, second shot exams, buy one, get one free. I mean, there's so many offers that are out right now that make it where they have many shots to take it off of one exam. Make it where it's just crazy for you not to do it. And so in the tracks, the certification tracks are very different. Like you said, the MCSE and MCSA, the old days. The new tracks make it much more specific to what their job roles are. But certification is still very important. We are in the training business. We are not in the, I don't want to say we're not in certification because training is what we do, but every day we are promoting certification. So when someone takes our courses, what are the next steps that we need to do to give you the tools to get you into that exam room and certify that your knowledge is from the classes that you took here and how we prepped you for that exam.
That's great. Well, I really want to appreciate you joining me today on TechNet Radio. I always get asked by my people that send me emails about the radio shows, how do I get a hold of that person? So let me share my contact information, then Tiffany will give you the opportunity to do the same. If people want to email me, it's john.weston or jweston@microsoft.com. Both get to me. My blog, I got two of them now, one at TechNet, blogs.technet.com/jweston, and then I have a new one I just brought up, johnweston.us. I brought that one up because I can stream video now from that site, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of video things on that side. And of course, Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, I'm out there, and all of them. Look for me at TechNet Guy out there in the Twitter world. So Tiffany, if people get a hold of you or find out more information about New Horizons?
I like people to just do it the hard way, FBI server, make sure. For email, it's Tiffany I, so TIFFANYI at newhorizons-no.com. That would be the hard way to find me. And everywhere else, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook are all the same. It's Tiffany WI, so TIFFANYWI. So any of those three sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, would be the same way to find me.
And to say you're active on Twitter would be an understatement.
Oh, you have no room to talk, mister. None whatsoever. TechNet Guy. No, I enjoy the banter on Twitter because I think that it's interesting from a technology standpoint. The conversations that go on and on Twitter are amazing. That the things you don't need to watch the news. You can find them all right there.
That's great. Well, again, thanks very much for joining us today, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you.